So this is a 3-foot long foam roller and about 6 inches wide. You can buy them from this company, OPTP. I also sell them at the studio. You're going to take it and cross it over your mat. Just because of the way the video is, I'm not going to turn sideways and do it so you can see where my feet are. And do you need to have a mat to do this? Not particularly, especially if you have a carpeted floor. It's just coming off and on the roller. You might be more comfortable with the mat down if you have a hard surface. You're going to take your hands back behind you and take your feet and your knees together, and then just drop your knees to your right and roll across all that connective tissue at the base of the hip joint. So where the thigh bone connects into the pelvis, we're just rocking and rolling into that space. And you're going to feel this mostly in the glute. Right? And again, just getting into that connective tissue. And it usually feels a little bumpy in there. This is the biggest joint of our body. It takes a lot of stress and pressure. And we're going to go the other way. We also, in our culture, sit and stand a lot, which can create sort of some tension in this joint. Think of all the body weight from the pelvis up coming down to meet in the pelvic area in the hip joint. So that's a lot for the poor little hip socket. And then we're going to come back to the center, especially if we don't stand properly. You're going to take your right foot and cross it over and drop that knee down as best you can. And then rock into your right hip and roll back and forth. So we're going a little bit deeper. And you're going to feel this a little bit more in that joint. And as best you can, palms flat down, elbows soft, abs strong. If you feel like you can't get your hands down, maybe you can put them on some yoga blocks or some phone books, if you can find a phone book anymore. And then we're going to come back to the center, uncross, recross, left leg over, dropping into that left hip joint and just rocking back and forth. And people always ask me how many times should we rock. In class, we usually do 8 to 10. But if you're feeling like one side has particularly a lot more tension than the other, then hang down on that side and do that side longer. Okay, we're going to do 2 more here. And 1 more. Good. And then coming back to the center, release your feet. Now roll back so that you're on the back of the hamstrings, like right in the center, between the knees and the hips. And again, hands flat ideally, and then you're going to push and pull. So you push your pelvis forward and you squeeze your abs and draw yourself back. So you don't want to get to the back of the knee, so it's right above that knee crease, back and forth here. Now let's do it 4 more times, and pull it back. And 3 more times, and pull it back. And 2 more. And last time. And then we're going to sit on down and roll the roller slightly forward so that we get the back of the bottom leg or the calf. So we'll push down again, squeeze the abdominals, draw the shoulders on your back, squeeze and lift, booty comes up, and we go back and forth here. Ankles to right below the knee. Ankles to right below the knee. So not behind the kneecap. Okay, that won't feel very good. You never want to put pressure there like that. Good, you can turn your toes out and hit on that outer band between the tibia and the muscle, and then turn them in. Same thing. And then sit back down. Have it right underneath your Achilles and rock your feet side to side, massaging out the Achilles tendon. So if you're a runner or you walk a lot, sometimes there's some tension back here. Sometimes you don't feel anything, but it's good for the entire leg to be massaged and worked. And then we're going to come back around onto all fours. And I'll turn to the side for this one. You're going to place this between your knees and your hip crease. So it's on the quads right in the middle when you start. And coming down onto the forearms. So try your best not to sink down, but push into your forearms and pull your belly button up so that you're not hanging in the middle. Right, I'll tuck my shirt in a little bit for you. Alright, so try to pull that belly in, and then army crawl forward, right? Back and forth. So right above the crease, right above the hip joint, and then right above the knee, back and forth. Okay, so it feels pretty good. There's some big muscles there. Now turn your toes in. Feel that IT band. We're going to kiss the IT band. That fibrous tissue on the sides of our thighs, always tight, most people. So we're going to loosen that up in a second too. And then turn your toes out and get on the adductors, those inner thigh muscles. And again, try not to scrunch down your shoulders. Push down to the left. Rock and roll. And then we'll come down onto the hands. And again, if you want to spend more time there, be my guest. Take as much time as you like. If you feel tight there, you work your quads a lot, go ahead. And then we're going to come to walk forward so that the shins are on the mat. Now please try your best not to put lots of weight on the shins and shift your body weight here and put lots of pressure on your knees. Push into your hands, pull your belly up, and then just rock gently over the shins. Back and forth. Pulling the knees into the chest with your abdominals, and then pressing back. Here's 4. And back. And again. And back. Let's do 4 more. And 3 more. Keep breathing. And again, your palms are flat, fingers spread wide. And last one. And then back. Now we come to the really fun part. Everybody loves. And you're just going to pick a hip, any hip, and then come onto your side. Bottom leg is nice and straight. Top leg is going to cross over. And then you're going to drop down onto your forearm. Especially if you've never done this before, you want to start low so that you can distribute your weight more into this top foot and this bottom forearm. As you get stronger, or as you get used to the pressure, let's say that, and you get looser, you might want to be up on your hands, or you might want to stack your legs and hover them off the floor. But let's start here. We're going to rock back and forth from the top of the thigh bone, right below the hip joint, to right above the knee on the outside. Back and forth. Now, if you're directly side, it's a little uncomfortable, but tolerable. If you really want to juice it up and kind of feel like you're breaking up some of that stiffness, turn your chest slightly towards the floor and rock to the top corner of your quads. And that is usually pretty tight in that space there. Again, being careful not to roll onto your knee, but don't hang out right here. Get down to that knee, because there's a lot of people, this is super tight and so beneficial. It'll make your hips feel awesome. And you'll feel like you have so much more range of motion. I know it doesn't feel wonderful right now, but it will eventually. And again, if you wanted to, you could stack your legs and rock and roll here, all the way side to side. All right, you can also buy pink rollers, which are softer and not as intense, at optp.com as well. We're going to come back onto your hands and knees, and then go to the other side. So to be social and keep facing you. And we're going to come down onto the other leg, bottom leg straight, top leg crossed over, and then we're going to take the forearm down onto the thigh. And you can adjust this however you need to. So sometimes you gotta play with it, right? You start too high, you can't rock and roll anywhere, and you're all up in your waist. You're not in your waist. You're like at the top of the greater trochanter, and then down to the bottom of your thigh, right above the knee. Okay, so greater trochanter, whatever. That's like the top of your thigh bone, basically, on this side. Back and forth. And again, if you want to amp it up, turn your chest down, roll it so that you're on that top corner. Sing your high notes. Suddenly you're a soprano, right? If it's too intense, put more weight in that forearm, in that foot. If you want to go more, stack the legs, rock back and forth on the side. People always ask me, like, does this ever not hurt? Or like, am I going to bruise myself? I've yet to have a student be bruised. But it usually is tender just because of our lifestyles. I'm going to come back up onto all fours. And that's pretty much our hip section with the roller. Now we're going to move into working on the shoulders and the back, coming all the way through the neck and the upper back as well. Okay, so first we're going to change the direction of the roller. So it's lengthwise on your mat, and then you put your body over it. So we drop tailbone down, and make sure your booty's all the way to the edge, so you don't hang your head off like a pez at the other end, especially if you're tall. You gotta make sure you're the other. And then tuck your tailbone, guide yourself down with your hands, use your belly.